It's Tuesday morning on the Morning View right here at Prime Media TV. I'm Ayo, bringing you all of the headlines that we have to be reviewed with you this morning. And on the front page of Premium Types this morning, we saw that on the Maiduguri flood, President Bola Ahmed TINUBU visits BORNO, announces disaster relief funds. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu announced a disaster relief fund on Monday in Maiduguri, Borno State, to assist Nigerian citizens impacted by floods and other disasters. He said the relief fund is already expedient as the climate becomes more unpredictable and many places in the country are vulnerable to its vagaries. President Tinubu announced this at the Borno Government House when he visited the state to sympathize with the government and the people over the recent flooding from Alau Dam. Here is the conversation that we are diving into this morning, and with me in the studio today to analyze the segment together is my co-host Mwachuku Treasure. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So I would like to hear your quick reaction as regards to the disaster relief funds by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Then we go to the video where he conversed with the people affected with by the flooding and all of that. So your quick take on disaster relief funds as the way of cushioning the effect of what we have on ground.
Well, in as much as I appreciate his visit to the meeting and his thoughtfulness towards, attending to the people that have been affected, but I have a challenge with we always waiting for a thing to happen before we swing into action. Now, ever since this happened, considering the measure, the gravity of the effects, I've been expecting, Nigerians have been expecting that the people, the man or that sector, nobody has come up to say anything. Nobody has been questioned as to the reason why, that incident happened. Considering the fact that there are people that are being paid by the federal government, under that ministry, nobody has been called for questioning based on we heard that about 400 million has been or is being budgeted for maintenance of that place, for maintenance, not even the salaries that are being paid. So this alone is a thing that should have brought about what happened. If really this money has been well spent, there should be no reason why this thing should happen. Where then, so no questioning it has happened. Relief fund cannot go or be for people that have lost their lives. Many people lost their lives. So what happened to those people? Will the relief fund bring them back to life? What happened to the businesses that has crumbled? What happened to people that lost their life? Now, so what about the properties that were destroyed? There is no how they can fully recover all that have been lost. This relief fund, so the challenge is not, the problem is not about the relief fund. It's about how possible can what has been destroyed be recovered. So that is what I feel. I feel we should do more to prevent a thing from happening than waiting till it happened and giving it all the attention that could have been given to it before it happened.
All right. So let's quickly have the video of Mr. President at the Borno State Government House where he's talking about practically addressing the people who has been affected by this flood. Then we come back to other part of the story. All right, so part of the many things that Mr. President said, in his word, I'm going to read out from here. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said, after my visit to the Shehu of Borno and the IDP camp, I have been reflecting on how to tackle this kind of disaster and the effect of climate change. So I could remember that when the incident occurred, Mr. President himself was not available. He was not in the country at the time. But here in his words, he said he has been reflecting. I mean, by now, we want to hear something beyond I am planning to. We want to hear that these are the measures that you have put in place. So I want to hear your quick thoughts on his preparation to do something when he could have done something.
Anyway, should I say he has actually done something? At first, there was a release of 3 billion to the affected states, and also we heard of a release of about 108 billion to all the states, even the states that were not affected. Right, but is just like you said, by now we ought to be hearing measures in place. The thing is now they are just busy dishing out money to states. We've not heard about now the dam, the collapsed dam is still still flowing. The water is still flowing out from there. So what by now we should be talking about the international bodies that should be invited to help to ensure that the place is fixed back. All this relief, the relief fund or whatever, they are not talking about how do we fix the dam. They are not talking anything. They are not saying anything about that, and that I think should be the area of focus, in as much as we know that attending to the people that have been affected is equally very, very important. But the both should be into plan that, okay, this thing has been affected, the dam has been destroyed and whatever, it needs to be rebuilt. All right, so it ought to be saying anything. And like you said, it shouldn't be plan, I'm planning to. It should be these are the things we've already decided to do to ensure that this never happen again, or to tackle the effects of the. So it's by now, in as much as whether he's around or not, there are people who do things on his behalf. So by now, his address shouldn't even be telling the people plans he has, but strategies that have been mapped out to tackle the disaster.
All right. So prior to this time, I could remember that there was a map in on the environment where this Alao Dam is located. And a lot of persons who were living around that dam, they said that they've been noticing water outflow from the dam.
Okay.
And they reach out to the government that what could they have done, that there's little flooding coming out from there. The government said nothing is wrong. And I could remember about, wasn't the 5th of September 2024, thereabouts, the governor of Borno State had sent in some experts to go and cross-check what the people were complaining about. I've forgotten the name of this part of the dam. I've forgotten what the name is called. The wall that holds back the reserve from outflowing. They went to check it. These supposed experts, they said that nothing is wrong with the dam, that the people were only being afraid for nothing. And it was about less than a week after, that the dam collapsed. And you can't believe that these people who went to check on these supposed experts, they were paid millions of naira before they could even assess that site to check whatever. And on the long run, we discovered that the dam collapsed. Now, it infuriates me when our leaders they are reactive in nature. They are not proactive. This dam was built within 2 years, within 1986 to 1988. And in 1994, this dam collapsed. There was an overflow of that dam. Nothing was done with it. Nothing was done to it. This dam has been experiencing supposed structural damage. In 1992, there was another in 1994 or thereabouts, and the last one was in 2012. But the worst one since then was the one in 1994. These are the time that they ought to have done something to avert this thing from happening. But they didn't do that until 2024, exactly 30 years after. So it infuriates me that what Mr. President could be thinking about is a supposed disaster release funds, when what people want to hear now is acknowledging the fact that there was an error. You said something about people, calling out people for questioning. The experts who went to check this thing while the people were complaining, why not call them in and question them? You told us this thing was all right. How come, despite the amount of money we paid to you, we still have to suffer this loss on the long run? So we see that we have leaders that are only reactive. They know how to give palliatives. So these disaster relief funds, as good as it sounds, it is not what Nigerians want to hear right now.
Not at all.
I am seeing leaders who are not taking responsibility for their own negligence. This would not have happened if you have taken the right step to avert this, if you have addressed the issue when the people are complaining. Then Mr. President is saying, even up until now, is still thinking of what they are going to do. He's still strategizing. Or let me use his words.
One thing that I have noticed about this administration or the people we have as our leaders is that they don't have value for lives. They are talking about relief fund. I mentioned something earlier that this thing is only applicable to the living. What happened to those that lost their life? Whatever, like I said earlier, that we wait until things happen before we take actions. A lot of, maybe because of, I was listening to a radio station this morning and they said something that why insecurity and all the attacks in the northern part of Nigeria cannot stop is because some people are benefiting from it. Because whenever there's any form of attack, you hear this person will say, we are donating so amount to this state. People, international bodies are, so because of all this monetary support, some people are benefiting from, they will not do the needful to ensure that there is no reoccurrence of the attacks. So now, the relief fund or whatever relief or benefit, number one, is not going to be thoroughly monitored to ensure that it gets to the right hands. Now, secondly, what's happened to those that have died, that lost their lives? Now, you talked about expertise or whatever. How were they gotten? What medium did they got them from? It could be somebody somewhere who mobilized some people to go there and pay them. The thing is that there are lots that in this that are happening in this administration, in our within our leaders, that we are not knowing, that we don't know of, and it's affecting it. Whenever anything happens in the country, people goes down.
All right. So in a short while, let's quickly have the video of Mr. President speaking himself, because I am particular about a lot of things that he said. And if precautionary measures had been taken, we won't be having this conversation.
Not at all.
So let's have the video and we'll come back to this conversation.
While I was here, I've been thinking of how do we tackle this kind of a problem, whether it's climate change or any other means. But there must be a disaster relief fund for the victims. And I'm going to invite organized private sector to team up with the government. We'll do that together. Yes. And retool and rebuild, affected areas from here. For the people of BORNO, Yobe, and other affected states, I say we will pull together a very good program for Nigeria to recover from this calamity and do better in the interest of our people. We will build our nation. Thank to various donor agencies for their sympathy and their contributions and their watchful eyes on this area.
All right, so
are you a STEM?
That is just part of the video from Premium Times. There are other things that he mentioned, but he emphasized on partnering with the private sectors. Now, I would like to know which of the wing of the private sector he's talking about. Should we say he's talking about the same private sector in which some of his policies is not even favoring their businesses to thrive? Are those the people you want to partner with? So let me hear your quick thoughts on that partnership.
Well, it will be difficult for anyone to even assume or to say that this is, the thing is, there are so many things that people are doing. Now, if he cannot be talking about the people that were paid huge sum to investigate the complaints of the people, which we know that, of course, they are private sectors as well. And again, talking about inviting private sectors, should the private sector be even stronger than the federal government? It's a very bad thing that things they should be doing, that they should be stronger, have an upper hand in. They are depending on private sectors. Like you said, private sectors that many of them has folded up as a result of lack of support and policy. It cannot be it cannot we cannot really say or state that these are the people he's likely going to our waters the water sector of the federal government. Nobody is hearing anything from them. The people that have been are assigned to take care of the dam is not questioning them. So what happened to those private sector he's looking at inviting now that could not have been invited before this incident happened to ensure that it never happens? So I don't really know. I can't really tell the people he's looking at inviting.
All right. So to wrap up this conversation, as much as what Mr. President said are part of the things that Nigerians are expecting to hear, want Mr. President to know that there are some individual persons who are even sharing foods, the foods that they have in their houses with some of those people in Meduguri states, and which the media is not even recording. Those kind of things does not trend on the media. But and there are some sect of people again. I got a report that so in some places in Meduguri state currently they are selling half bag of rice for 80,000 naira. So there is the people factor who are making life unbearable. Then there is also the government factor. By now, like I said, disaster relief funds, good, thumbs up. But then by now we want to hear that okay, in so and so state, we have started erecting buildings for IDPs to accommodate some people so that we can evacuate the flood. And by the time we are done with the evacuation, we can get to know the number of persons who are dead or alive so that family members can be at rest. So this disaster relief flood is just that saying, we have people, yes, these people are out of their houses, they need to eat, let's feed them. You are not taking care of the emotional needs of these people. Some of them have lost their family members, they have lost their parents, they have lost their children, and all of that. People have lost their businesses. Yes, they need food to survive for that time. But in as much as you are catering for their basic needs, you should as well extend it to, okay, for those people whose family members are yet to be found, we are working on evacuating this water out of the vicinity so that we can find out those who are still stuck in their houses, those who are stuck in their business place, and recover bodies that are yet to be found. And there's this Yoruba proverb that says that it is better that your child is dead than to say your child is missing, because a child that is missing, you are not sure of when to find the child. But when a child is dead, you are sure. So this will put the mind of the people at rest that okay, I can eat while the government is looking for my family members. So we want Mr. President to be more empathic in his conversation. And on the part of the private sector, there are a lot of private sector who would say that, sir, the policies you have made over time has not even helped me to be able to pay my workers. Talk more of me partnering with you to be able to rescue these people. You see, one beautiful thing about helping people out in times of need is when you are most likely to be needing them. Yes, people would always say that if you help a fair person, there's no assurance that you get the reward from the fair person. But the truth is that kindness is not limited to dark or fair people. When you are kind to everybody, you never can tell when you will be needing them. Perhaps if the policies Mr. President had made over time, if it had been favoring some of those private sectors, sincerely, Mr. President does not even need to call them. By themselves, they will be willing they will voluntarily offer themselves. You know, people like Landmark Resorts, you don't have to beg him. He would offer solution. He will provide the solution because there is a system that is favoring his business. But let's watch out for the private sectors, the people he's looking up to. Let's watch out for their reaction and see if truly they would come out for Mr. President. So on this segment, this is all that we'll be able to take, but we'll be going on a quick break now. As soon as we get back, we'll dive into another conversation that will interest you. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.